It's a warm welcome here in our studios in Serekunda. This is Star TV News with me, Sarah Kamara. In the headlines tonight, President Adama Barrow addresses ECOWAS head of states and government. Tough Africa Global still on the move to fight the global pandemic. Team Solutionist set to roll out on an awareness campaign on COVID-19. On the international scene, holy month of Ramadan impacted by global virus outbreak. Only one hospital to treat country's COVID-19 patient in Somalia. Rising calls to block Saudi crude shipments to US. Those were the headlines, and now the news in details. His Excellency President Adama Barrow, President of the Republic of the Gambia, on Thursday addressed the ECOWAS Authority of Head of State and Government. In his address during the virtual conference, President Barrow highlighted the challenges the country is facing due to the coronavirus and the measures his government has taken in containing the spread of the virus and minimizing its impact. Maimuna Jouf files in this report.
The video conference, chaired by President of the Republic of Niger, centered on the situation and impact of the deadly coronavirus, also known as COVID-19. In his statement, President Barrow stated that the pandemic has brought about much human suffering due to its reputation of taking the lives of many people. He highlighted the challenges faced by his government and the country.
Since the World Health Organization (WHO) confirmed the outbreak of COVID-19 and declared it a pandemic in March 2020. The Gambia has been monitoring the situation, and we have taken measures to prevent the spread of coronavirus in the country. Unfortunately, we recorded the first case on the 16th March 2020. Overall, 332 tests have been conducted. As of 21st April 2020, 10 cases have been confirmed within the country, with one death.
The president also noted the economic and business impact the COVID-19 has and likely to cause in the long run.
In view of the close linkages between our economies globally, the global lockdown and scaling down of economic activities have already shown adverse effects on our country. Small and medium enterprises have been hammered by the lockdowns, and many workers have either lost their jobs or work on reduced work schedules. The disruption has negatively impacted on supplies, investment, and services, especially in the tourism sector. Remittances have declined, and our GDP is expected to drop from 3.5% to 0.6% if the trend continues.
However, the president confessed that indeed our healthcare system has limited capacity to effectively mitigate its impact. He also added that limited access to water, electricity and technology makes it more challenging to enforce the safety measures in most parts of the country. The president therefore says his government welcomes the immediate response from development partners and individuals and will continue working with them in a coordinated manner the impact of the virus. Reporting for Star TV News, I am Maimuna Jouf.
In their quest to fight coronavirus, Tough Africa Global have presented a check of $50,000 to all area councils, including the Brikama Area Council, which received $100,000 for being the biggest council in the region. The presentation was done at Tough Africa Global Head Office in Brufut on Thursday. Binta Koli was there and she now reports.
At its headquarters in Brufut, Tough Africa Global presented a check of $50,000 to all area councils, including Brikama Area Council, which received $100,000. Speaking at the presentation ceremony, founder of Tough, Africa, Mustafa Njai said the donation is meant to help fight the global pandemic and that his company will do everything in their capacity to help Gambians. Mustafa Njai gave a brief explanation of why he made the donation.
To hand out checks to the different chairpersons of the different area councils from Brikama to URR. What prompted this, I need not tell you. We all know that we are fighting a disease called COVID-19, which is affecting humanity, the whole world, and therefore Gambia is no exception. We are joining government and Gambians at large to do the little that we can to fight the disease and make a difference in lives.
Mr. Njai further said that they deem it necessary to give back to communities and the rural area is not an exception.
We take it to be our obligation to share the little we have with Gambians across the country. This is to demonstrate that TASF Africa is not only a peri-urban company. It is a Gambian company, and Gambia starts from Banjul to Koina. And this is why we want to impact lives. We want to make sure that we touch every Gambian life that is living.
Giving the vote of thanks on behalf of the chairman, for the Danjo, chairperson, Basse Area Council, thanked TAF for the good gesture, saying the donation will have a great impact in the fight against the pandemic.
To thank Mr. Njai very much, to thank his company, to thank his staff for this benevolent gesture. This will go a long way in addressing the problem of COVID-19 in the country. As we all know, the local government authorities are doing a wonderful work at their various LGAs because we are involved in sensitization. We are involved in providing sanitizing materials to our committees. And if this thing is also added onto it, I think it's a very good gesture. We thank Mr. Njai for his wonderful gesture that he has done for us. And we are also calling on all other institutions to emulate TAF.
The beneficiaries are Kuntawur Area Council, Kerewan Area Council, Brikama Area Council, Janjambure Area Council, and Basse Area Council. TAF Africa Global have been in existence for 30 years and have also made homes affordable and comfortable for every Gambian living in the Gambia or abroad. For Star TV News, I am Binta Koli.
Team Solutionist at the University of the Gambia, which consists of students, youths, is set to roll out on an awareness campaign for the fight against COVID-19. This quest is mainly to help the Health Ministry in the fight against the global pandemic. The Minister of Health provided the team with sanitary items like detergents, hand-washing bucket, face masks, among other items. Zagrin Koli was there, and she now files in this report.
Mr. Modun Jai, Director of Health Promotion Directorate, said the Ministry of Health on Monday received a delegation from Team Solutionist in search of partnership from the ministry to help fight against the pandemic.
On Monday, when the Honorable Minister of Health, Honorable Ahmed Lamin Samate, was visited by Mr. Kemo and his colleagues, the lady and my colleague and Fadera, visited the Honorable Minister to ask for their participation in the fight against COVID-19. The Minister had a discussion with them and they were referred to our office at the Health Promotion Directorate because they want to do community sensitization. We discussed the modalities as to how this thing can be done. They requested some items and they thought they wanted to look for funding to buy that. But because our ministry, the donations we collected from certain people and also what we also were able to buy, we also feel that we want to support because they want to partner with us. And we have been looking for partnership and collaboration from partners like the Student Union, and they call themselves the Solutionist, the Students' Power.
Mr. Njai further said that his directorate is happy to partner with Team Solutionist in the fight against the pandemic. He said they provided sanitary materials to the team as they requested, and they will also provide t-shirts for the members to use during the sensitization period. Kemo Fati of Team Solutionist said this gesture is not to complement the efforts of the World Health Organization, the government or the Ministry of Health, but rather accepting the challenge as concerned citizens to take up the fight and end the pandemic coronavirus.
We can overcome, but only if we are committed. Part of the event that we are organizing today, which is very, 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 very overwhelming today, is to embark on a sensitization program. Because I believe that for a society to be responsible and, of course, powerful, it must first be informed. And I believe that one of the most important principles of COVID-19 campaign is to organize a sensitization, to create more awareness, so that the masses out there can understand what to do and what not to do. And this is why we took upon ourselves as a responsibility, and of course as concerned citizens in the Gambia and of course within the university, to embark on this massive sensitization.
The team is set to embark on the trip the soonest, and their target is the remote areas like Farato, Jambur, Jambangjeli, Katong, and many others. Jacqueline Colley, reporting for Star TV News.
And now news beyond our borders. From Bamako to Baghdad, Muslims have traditionally broken the day's fast during Ramadan with a shared meal. But in the age of social distancing and tight restriction, many of the communal rituals will not be observed this year. Al Jazeera Hassan Ahelbara reports.
For hundreds of years, Muslims used to go out into empty fields, looking at the sky to figure out when Ramadan begins. These days, though, clerics here in Pakistan and elsewhere use telescopes to get first sight of the new moon. Once spotted, Ramadan starts. It's the holiest month in the Islamic calendar, when Muslims stop eating and drinking from sunrise to sunset. The fasting allows worshippers to devote themselves to their faith and remember the sufferings of the poor. But during the unprecedented coronavirus emergency, Muslims are abandoning many of Ramadan's traditions and rituals. They won't be able to invite their loved ones, the neighbors, or the poor to join the evening fast-breaking meal known as iftar. As COVID-19 spreads, restrictions are being enforced. Governments have closed borders, imposed curfews, lockdowns, and encouraged social distancing to contain the contagion. Islam's holiest site in Mecca is usually teeming with worshippers from all over the world during Ramadan. It's closed this year as part of the Saudi government's campaign to curb the virus spread. Getting people everywhere to observe social distancing in Ramadan won't be easy. The highlight of Ramadan is the Night of Destiny, where Muslims believe their holy book, the Quran, was first revealed to the Prophet Muhammad, and where the gates of heaven are open. Muslims spend the night in contemplation and prayers in mosques, a ritual they are being asked to perform at home this time. Islam's most sacred month, meant to encourage unity, praying together and breaking their fast together, may end up being a month of relative solitude. Hashim Al-Bara, Al Jazeera.
A critical shortage of medical supplies and personnel continues to grip hospitals across Africa. In Somalia's capital, Martini Hospital is the only country's medical facility dedicated to treating its growing number of coronavirus patients. The people of Somalia have struggled 2 years of conflict, locust swarm, and now COVID-19. Al Jazeera Mohammed Adu reports from Mogadishu.
Mogadishu's Martini Hospital, which dates back to the Italian colonial era, is Somalia's only medical facility dedicated to treating its growing number of corona patients. Due to its limited capacity, the hospital only caters for the sickest of patients. This doctor runs the task force that is leading Somalia's response to the pandemic.
At least 218 patients of corona have come to Martini Hospital since the outbreak. 21 of those were admitted to the few beds available. 17 people are still here, while 3 patients died at the hospital.
It's hard to tell the severity and spread of the virus in Somalia. Until recently, the nation lacked the capability to test for the new virus, meaning samples were sent abroad and results delayed for more than a week. There is also limited capacity by the government to trace people the first victims of the virus came into contact with. The good news, however, is that 4 people have so far recovered from the virus. Bashir Adan is one of them.
I was provided good care by the doctors and the nurses from the day it was confirmed I had the virus. They also gave me good counseling when they broke the news to me, so I was mentally prepared for everything I went through.
All international and domestic flights, except for emergency medical and food cargo, have been suspended. The borders have also been closed as part of an all-out government effort to stop the spread of the disease. A massive public awareness campaign has also been mounted in the capital and in the media.
We're encouraging people to practice social distancing. We're also alerting them about what the virus is and the effect it can have, as well as the importance of washing their hands and disinfecting any equipment they're using.
Beyond the capital, though, Al-Shabaab fighters hold sway in many parts of rural Somalia. This means there is little access for medical and humanitarian workers to carry out life-saving work. Al-Shabaab fighters also carry out frequent attacks in the capital and other major cities, something else that hinders a proper response to the outbreak. There are now increasing fears that the disease will spread through camps housing displaced families who huddle under huts built from sticks and old rags. Many of the 2.4 million Somalis displaced by conflict and other disasters over the years live in camps like this one. A critical shortage of medical supplies and personnel also continues to grip hospitals across the nation, with some doctors and nurses now saying they are increasingly being forced to choose between the health of their patients and their own. Mohamed Ado, Al Jazeera.
As oil producers struggle with the largest glut in global history, the biggest Saudi oil shipment in years is making its way to the United States of America. But Washington is considering banning Saudi crude imports as the U.S. is running out of space to store it. Saudi Arabia may be forced to turn its tankers around as calls grow to protect domestic U.S. shale industry. Al Jazeera John Hedren reports from Chicago, the United States.
A flotilla of Saudi oil tankers is slowly steaming toward the United States and into a chilly welcome for a U.S. ally.
It's indicative of how desperate these petrostates are to sell their oil, to find a place, physically, to find a place to place their oil.
With the coronavirus driving oil prices to historic lows, all U.S. oil storage is expected to be filled in the next month. The Saudi move to occupy much of that precious storage space on the U.S. Gulf Coast has been called by some industry insiders an economic Pearl Harbor, a hostile attack on U.S. soil. A coalition of 13 U.S. senators from energy states goes even further, calling it economic warfare. Texas Senator Ted Cruz writes on Twitter, 20 tankers filled with 40 million barrels of Saudi oil are headed to the U.S. This is 7 times the typical monthly flow. My message to the Saudis, turn the tankers the hell around. Cruz says the longtime U.S. ally is exploiting a pandemic to kill the rival American shale oil industry. Some analysts say he's right.
What is Saudi Arabia rightfully doing, as any other oil producer, is to get rid of the competition. And competition in this case is expensive oil. With shale oil, it means expensive to produce.
U.S. leaders have long nurtured strong bonds with Saudi leaders, even since the rise of shale oil helped the U.S. overtake Saudi Arabia as the world's largest oil producer.
$3 billion.
The fact that Saudi leaders are now willing to risk the anger of their American allies suggests they believe the world's oil glut won't end anytime soon. With much of the world on lockdown, few drivers on the road and fewer planes and ships are using fuel. Oil prices are so low they briefly hit negative territory this week at the Chicago Board of Trade. That left some sellers actually paying buyers to take it off their hands. Now many producers are simply storing it and waiting for prices to rise. The U.S. can hardly turn the ships away. The Saudi government owns the Motiva oil refinery in Port Arthur, Texas. America's biggest.
It can choose what crude that Motiva refinery takes. And, at times when it's tough to market oil, you might as well just buy your own oil.
Even as American politicians lament the Saudi incursion, the ships sail ever closer. John Hendren, Al Jazeera, Chicago.
And before we end the news, a recap of our main headlines. President Adama Barrow addresses ECOWAS head of states and government. Tough Africa Global still on the move to fight the global pandemic. Team Solutionist set to roll out on an awareness campaign on COVID-19. Holy month of Ramadan impacted by global virus outbreak. Only one hospital to treat country's COVID-19 patient in Somalia. Rising call to block Saudi crude shipment to US. That's all for this edition of the news. Please enjoy the rest of our program and join us tomorrow for more news. Thank you.